I want you to tell your audience your origin story to get started, and then we'll go from there.
You better start. You were born first. You better start.
Oh, the older brother
first.
here.
We got 5 years till you get to me. I'll just take a nap.
Not that much of an origin.
Back in 1960.
Okay, this is what y'all are getting into. So,
right.
Yeah.
So the origin really for TelScreen, our history is really in telemedicine. My father's a professor of physiology. He was, should I say, our father?
Yes.
And then we can all pray.
Yeah. Who art down the hall.
Was on the Jewish hospital board with a local retinal specialist. And this retinal specialist was flying his entire staff and equipment in about a 200-mile radius of Louisville looking for patients who needed retinal surgery. And this was back in the 90s when it paid enough that he could do that. Rent a doctor's office at the destination for a whole day, screen 70 patients, find the 3 that need surgery, send a limo to fetch them to Louisville for surgery, put them up in a local hotel, check them one day post-op, and then send them back home in a limousine. And he was making money doing this, but I guess flying your staff around every 2 weeks, a couple hundred miles in a private plane just kind of gets old. So he turned to my dad and asked, is there some way that we could send images instead of me sending myself and my entire staff to go screen these patients? And my dad said, sure, we can do that. Now, his background's electrical engineering, and he's done
His background's making stuff up. Let's be clear on this.
Invention is a key part of his character. Yes, it is.
Now, was this a yes, and I'll figure out how later?
And then...
No, it's my sons know something about this. I'll ask them.
Oh.
So he turns to Kent and I says, how are we going to do that? And Kent's a computer engineer, I'm an electrical engineer, and we had a couple ideas.
Well, at this time, I had just graduated with a master's degree from Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, and had done the work in an image processing group there. So that I got to the privilege of working with the smartest man in China from 1960. One of the faculty member there came to the States because he was the top test score in China and got a full ride and launched his career. And one of his passions was image processing. And he said the problem with image processing is that you can't get any funding for it because Hollywood has destroyed it. They show a photo, they show a movie, and they show some pixelated image, and then they say, oh, process that, and then boom, it shows exactly what they want to see. And so that ruined his grant funding for it. So he had to work the hard way of figuring out other uses for image processing technology.
You mean that whole forensics thing isn't real? What?
Three keystrokes and you get a perfect rendition of the license plate of the getaway car?
Yeah,
right.
that's not real.
Sorry.
So anyway, that's how we got started, looking at the imaging side.
And developing cameras that then would go on a slit lamp or fundus camera, send an image, and we had basically a store and forward telemedicine network in which the retinal specialist would receive these image requests for screening and would then work it into his workflow, today, tomorrow, the next evening or two, whenever he had some spare time, then he would look at these images and send back an opinion as to whether the patient needed to be seen in Louisville. And the disconnect at that time was, if you're the doctor with the patient in your chair, you'd like to know in about 10 minutes whether this is something to be really concerned about or mildly concerned about, something we're going to watch over time, or just a variation of normal, no big deal.
Right.
And you can imagine nervous patients who've just been told their images have been sent to a specialist, and now they're holding their breath waiting for the result, and they're not going to hold their breath for 2 days. They really want to know now.
Unless they're just feeling really blue.
So
telemedicine.
We are going to video this, if nothing else, for my facial expressions.
So telemedicine in the 90s was a social disconnect between the needs of the patient and the needs of the specialist.
And there was other issues, some other regulatory issues regarding if you have this person in this state reviewing an image for a patient and a doctor in this state, are they licensed in both states?
Are you practicing medicine across state lines?
Are you inducing a referral illegally because you're providing service? Are you getting,
And if you're not being paid for it directly, then how are you being paid for it? Well,
so that caused some problems, some logistical problems.
So regulatory catch up to telemedicine has taken a while. But you fast forward, almost 30 years now. And basically the patient wins eventually. So now you have retinal specialists that sit in a box and read retinal images and give opinions back right away. And that's how the patient gets what they need. The referring doctor gets what they need. The retinal specialist provides the service in a timely fashion and gets paid for it now.
Yeah, they actually have new codes to allow telemedicine codes that didn't exist, or were highly underutilized 30 years ago, if they even existed yet.
Well, because, only now is telemedicine like a thing. Mm-hmm. And you guys are talking about this from the 90s.
Okay. So the first telemedicine use in practice, guess what year that was? First use of telemedicine in a medical practice.
Was I alive?
No.
What?
1957.
Yeah, I was not. Even
according to Pat, I wasn't alive then either.
I wasn't a spark then.
Yeah. It was I think a telepsychiatry consult done by closed circuit television.
Really? That's fascinating.
That's why telemedicine's pretty crazy.
Oh, right into it.
Edit that.
I'm going to have to add sound effects to it.
I thought we'd just cut that out.
You're going to see podcast gap. This is where my brother is talking. Just look for the gaps.
George Carlin's words you can't use in a podcast. You can't use the C word anymore.
There's another name for a podcast, Between the Gaps.
Oh.
That's the part you're allowed to hear.
So back to telemedicine.
So telemedicine was not a huge success story for us because it was too early socially.
Yeah.
And so we pivoted to, we've got some pretty good images. Surely there's some value there. And Larry Alexander is a well-known, now deceased, but well-known faculty member at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, who wrote several textbooks on various conditions. And he was practicing in Louisville following his academic career, was taking care of our grandmother, and basically helped us out with user interface to have a camera that would actually be usable in the amount of time you have for it. The software interface had to be fast enough that didn't slow him down. It had to be intuitive and natural and quick so that he didn't look like he was fumbling in front of the patient.
And these are computers in the 90s, folks. 90s.
Remember the Gateway?
Intel 386.
Wow, those were blocks.
The Gateway cowbox, good old days. So, but he helped us tremendously with refining the user interface and coming up with what's the normal use case in an exam room for this technology. Okay, now make it easy for the doctor to do it that way. He really drove a lot of our development. We're still grateful to this day for his contributions to our thought process. The most important thing is the doctor's time. The second most important thing is the doctor's time. The third most important thing is the staff time. So if you have a product that's too cumbersome to use, it costs them money. They can't afford it. So that sharp focus on what's the best use of the doctor's time. And our latest iteration of that is if the doctor's typing, everybody's losing. The doctor should never have to type. So our new Diamond system.
I know of no medical schools that include a typing class for doctors.
No, nor writing class.
So
penmanship.
Penmanship, not there.
First year medical school, penmanship, right? So, but that focus on the doctor's time, the staff's time is still a big part of it.
So, okay, help me understand, because I know you're getting ready to launch the new Diamond systems.
Who told you?
That's a little secret.
She saw the reflection.
Oh, man, if you guys can't catch these things as he's saying them, you know what? As the podcast grows, I think we should have like a poll. Like, what's the pool? What's the pool for this podcast? Like, how many times is Kent going to throw a pun in the water here?
What's the over-under?
What's the over-under?
Is it a conflict of interest if I place a wager?
Yes, it's actually fine because we know you can't count.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm the finance guy. So.
Okay, folks, this is how it goes every time I'm here. This is why we've started this podcast, because I can't keep it to myself. I've got to share it with you too. So, but seriously, the Diamond system you're getting ready to launch, you said something about the doctor should not have to type. How does that even work? Like, if they are not typing something in, like codes or whatever, is it just like super intuitive, read my mind level stuff? Like, what is happening here?
So we don't have the mental implant part yet.
We've seen several great movies that suggest exactly how to do it. We're just a short technical step away.
Yeah.
Probably FDA approval is all that's missing. Seriously, it's on the drawing board somewhere.
So seriously, the first point is the staff should do as much as possible. So the amount that the doctor actually has to do should be minimized. When the doctor walks into the exam room, staff should have already loaded this patient and either left it in live video where it's ready for the doctor to just jump into the exam, or leave it in a review screen so the doctor can see, this is what I was looking at last time. I want to make sure I get a good shot of this again for side-by-side comparison. So the doctor's job has to be just the things that only the doctor can do. So start your slit lamp exam, step on the foot pedal, record video, step on the foot pedal again, use the mouse to show the patient, scroll through the video, drag and drop, drag and scroll interface. What?
Yeah, it's just a drag the mouse to the point you want to see, and it shows it immediately. So.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Actually, for what I do, I want that level of help surrounding me. Like, I want to walk into the room and be a rock star. And that's what it sounds like you guys are creating the systems for the doctors to be able to do just in their world. Like, they just walk in, do the thing that they're an expert at, help the patient, and get out and remove the technical difficulties.
And the getting out part is sometimes a challenge for doctors who like to have some additional relationship with the patient and some chit chat and how's it going, and I saw whatever the latest news is. With our program, there's one click that closes the patient's record and indicates the conversation's over. So for patients who have difficulty getting up and leaving, that one click is the subliminal message, we're done.
Okay.
For doctors who have difficulty leaving, usually there's a staff member who has been charged with giving the high sign, rattling the charts.
Rattling the charts on the back of the door, that sort of
flags,
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the secret message.
That's the doctor, get out of here, your next patient's waiting.
Yeah, your other patients are waiting, and you need to get on with it.
So you guys have been in this business for a while.
27 years and a fraction.
And when I say in this business, it's not just that you guys create systems for the doctors to use. You guys have been all up in the doctors' businesses.
Is that a not so polite way of saying?
That's not my specialty.
Proctology is totally different.
But knowing, like you just mentioned, that the signal, the door rattling signal, right, of having the doctor you're
right. That came from a good friend of ours. One of the things we do in product development is we like to know how is our product going to be used, and that started with Larry Alexander, like Wes mentioned. And I was a young, wet behind the ears software developer at that time. I thought, just slog some code together and, hey, this menu interface, everybody can use a menu interface. First version of the product I showed the doctor, he couldn't even see the menu. The menu was thin and it was up the top of the screen, and that's not where the doctor's trained to look. He's looked center of the screen. Their microscope, they look the center of the microscope. Everything's the center of the screen. So he couldn't even see any of the commands or anything that I had in this interface, and he's like, what do I do here? What is this? How do I use this? And just completely shot me down. So I got a wonderful education about, hey, who's my target user and what's their skill set? And what in terms of perceptual limitations or perceptual habits, I guess, just to factor those things in.
So we had times where we would shadow doctors for days to sometimes a week, just follow them around and figure out what are they doing every day.
And we visited multiple doctor practices, with doctors that had been either customers of us or we'd met at trade shows that developed a relationship with. So they'd invite us to come to their practice and we'd take a look and see how they did things. And that's where the story of one doctor who his staff, because he loved to talk, and he would talk for 30, 40 minutes with a patient, if especially if he wasn't busy, or even if he
didn't feel busy,
because he was pretty much the local celebrity in the town. I mean, it was a fairly small town about 50,000, and he was very actively involved in his community, so he knew everybody and liked to talk.
Of course, you need to catch up with everybody as they come in.
They had the basket on the outside of the door that they put their chart in for the next patient, so they'd just rattle that chart And then he said, "Oh, my bosses are getting angry at me," and then he'd move on to the next patient. So.
That's awesome. So you mentioned like that one was in a small town, 50,000. You guys have a lot of those going on throughout the whole U.S. Like these small town guys who are the rock stars in the community for that.
Guys like, can we say names?
If you want, absolutely.
Dr. Max Downey's retired now, but as the eye doctor in Columbia, Kentucky, he was also the eye doctor for the horses and the cows and the goats.
Oh.
Anything that could walk that needed an eye doctor, he was the one to go to.
If it had an eyeball, he was your guy.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah. So you may be the only medical specialty in town, and that's for humans and animals.
Wow. I bet you got a lot of good stories out of him.
I gave him a $40 discount on his imaging system for sharing pictures of his chicken tractor.
Chicken tractor?
Oh, you don't know what a chicken tractor is?
I do not. I feel like I need to know this. Something's missing in my life if I don't have a chicken tractor. What is this?
So when you have free-range chickens, but they need a safe place to stay at night,
yeah,
you have a chicken tractor. And it's basically a wagon with a chicken coop on it and a ramp that comes down the bottom. And so at night, they walk up the ramp and get shut in so that they don't get picked off by the foxes.
Sure. Is it... Did you just say it was on a tractor?
Well, it's more like a wagon, but you could pull the wagon with the tractor. So
that's the part I'm missing. Okay. Like I'm familiar with chickens, and they need to be put up at night to save them from the foxes. But I didn't know about this tractor part being part of it. Okay. Yeah.
So, I hadn't heard of a chicken tractor either. But when he said, "I'll show you a picture of my chicken tractor," I was hooked. How could you say no to that?
How could you say no? So tell me about some of your favorite moments since you've been in the business with some of these doctors.
I guess the first moment that I can remember was we had a doctor in Indiana who shared a photo with us, and then he told the story of, "Today with your system, I saved a life." It was a picture of, through the eye, looking at the back of the eye, a picture of a brain tumor that had not been diagnosed prior to that person's eye doctor visit. And it was just I don't know if there were any complaints or symptoms other than maybe headache or eye pain or something.
I don't think there was any eye pain.
I don't think there was any eye pain yet or anything, or symptoms, but it was just a regular exam. And he did back of the eye and he's like, "Oh, we need to see a specialist today."
Yeah.
And
papilledema referred, I think, to Cincinnati for a
brain tumor.
For consult, and came back, yes, this person has a brain tumor.
Wow. And I think they were able to operate, actually. I think they were able to save the patient's life. So that was my moment of, hey, this is really important. There's a lot of good stuff. I hadn't even considered that, what kind of good could be accomplished. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, you ask about the moments, and I think for me, going back to the lighter side, it's discovering all the different hidden talents that various doctors have.
Oh, like chicken tractors?
Well, Dr. Mila Brujic plays a mean guitar. Some people know that, some people don't. And he can sing a little bit too. So you get
Pearl Jam, get him on a Pearl Jam song, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A little bit of grunge rock and he's all over it. So, but who would suspect? Eye doctor, white coat, and by night he's a rocker.
Well, the coat's got to come off sometime. And so you guys have worked with your dad for many, many years as well.
With or against?
Yes.
I'm not going there. Tell me what that's been like for you guys.
So the key phrase in our relationship is minor software development.
Minor software change. We didn't even get development.
Okay. Yeah. Minor software change. So his latest idea, new product, it's just a minor software change from what we've already got.
Okay, so I can imagine the looks, and then do you guys have like sidebar conversations whenever he's not there?
Well, there are different stages of minor. Like,
well, in the old days, he would sell it first, and then he would tell us to make it. So he's come a long way. Now he at least asks, "Hey, is this possible?" before he mentions it to the customer and sells it.
And if we say no, he says, well, surely we could come up with something like this. So he still doesn't take no for an answer. But
And how many times have you heard that over the years?
well, let's see. We started with one analyzer on our research product side in 1989.
Yeah.
And we ended up with 13 before we really stopped developing on that side of the house. So that would be 12 on that side that were minor software changes. Because after all, we already had the blue box. And it has a power supply. So we're almost there.
Okay.
And on the TelScreen side, let's see. The infrared camera was a minor software change
Right.
For functional micrography.
Well, I mean, you have the ginger filter. So that was an innovation, but he actually did the work on that. So we can't.
We have to give him credit.
We have to give him credit for that, of actually carrying the idea all the way through. But a lot of the different I don't know, the presentation side, or the looking at how are we going to get this to work, or I want this. Oh, I know his marketing thing of, if you find a bug in our software, I'll treat you to a steak dinner. That was that was the software development motivational plan of
around 1996, 78, somewhere in there.
As sort of the, if I have to pay for too many steak dinners, it's coming out of your paycheck.
Oh.
So that was a performance review criteria, was how many steak dinners did you cause? So that, I guess, started the emphasis on quality in software development pretty early.
And really, I think the outgrowth of that was that the engineer who develops the product is responsible for support, at least for the first few years. So if you write something totally awful that needs a lot of support, your life is going to be hell for a while. And that produces the proper thought process to do a complete design and a complete implementation with complete testing before we release it out into the wild.
Sure.
And bugs certainly still do escape from time to time. But
the idea is that they're not going to be severe or critical. They're going to be minor, in the sense that it's not going to significantly affect the performance of the software. It's just going to be a nuisance that needs to be corrected. Okay.
The entire world is starting to come out of 2020. What did that do for you all last year?
Well, let's see. Start with the panic moment. Oh crap, that order we just got is saying can't take delivery of this. And
well, I was at SECO 2020, which was the first week of March. And by the end of that conference, March 6th, we're now starting to hear about, the word pandemic is coming up more often in conversation. We didn't know at the time that it was going to be the last trade show that we did in 2020, but it was. And we later found out that there was someone there who was positive, and I was probably within 6 feet of the person. So the pandemic was a little bit of a wake up to, there's more important things going on in this world than just software development and TelScreen and digital imaging systems. There's a whole lot of stuff.
But not much more. I mean, realistically.
Well, as far as your kids being concerned about paying for college.
Well, I mean, this isn't a hobby for you guys.
Right.
This is a legit biz.
Yeah, so, we didn't really have to do much stay at home, because small company, mostly family, enough square footage in our offices that we're relatively isolated from each other anyway, and with good reason. But that didn't really change our day-to-day that much. Actually, we did benefit some from the pandemic, in the sense that optometry schools still had classes that needed to graduate. They still had students who needed to be prepared for their fourth-year rotations, third years that needed clinical experience. If you can't put 10 people in an exam room to walk through and see the patient, or rotate through, or look in a teaching tube, how do they get the clinical experience?
Right.
So TelScreen systems plus a Zoom meeting and a webcam meant that you could have 1 or 2 students in the room and 8 or 10 others watching remotely. So they didn't necessarily get to see the patient face to face. They certainly missed out on some stuff, but at the same time, they did get to see the clinical cases and get just that little bit more experience that normally they would have gotten in person.
And the clinical sessions are now recorded. So now you've got a video library that, if you're a new student or a second-year student about to be a third-year student, now they can publish all these videos. They say, hey, watch these. Did you see, they can even make it a part of a question to say, hey, watch this video. What did you see? What did you diagnose? And it's just practice that's there forever now. I like to joke that anything in the digital world, it stays around forever, and because it does. And so that's great and not so great sometimes, but for education purposes, it's fantastic. And so just extending the value of better tools for education, our system really fits the bill for that. And that was helpful.
So we did a little bit of that over the summer, helping schools prepare their next generation of students. Naturally, we binged Netflix for a week and a half. I'll confess, we just like everybody else. You bury your head in the sand and try to pretend the pandemic's going away.
Okay, what'd you watch?
Well, I'm not sure. My wife was watching Korean dramas and stuff like that. So.
Oh, that's right. Because you guys, that's right. Does the world know you guys are all into Taekwondo around here?
Probably not.
Oh, they do now.
Now they do. Yeah.
What are your all's hidden little talents?
Yeah, that one's still fairly hidden, I think.
Yeah, according to my instructor, a lot of my talent's still hidden.
So you watch Korean dramas, like with subtitles and everything?
Well, my wife does. That's
oh,
her,
okay.
Yeah, that's her thing. So
it's not much different than regular soap operas.
No. You see 20 episodes, and that's, if you've seen 3, you've seen all of them.
Yeah, but it gets you hooked, though. Like, I gotta know, do they get back together? Yeah.
Yeah, the soap operas, that describes every Netflix series that lasted beyond 3 seasons. That's the definition of soap opera, I think, for modern teens. But I was definitely a Cobra Kai fan and a Lucifer fan. So those are the two that, and then they conveniently put on a 5th season simply for me at the pandemic. I'm sure that's why they did that. So,
yeah. But yeah, after that phase, then it was, we've got time. The phone doesn't ring as much when nobody's in their office.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, nobody needs help right away because, they were closed, some of them for 12, 13 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, they had all new mandates on their own plasticizing of, all the plastic eyepiece covers and all that to try and have breath shields and anything to try and help them have more time with the patient. So that was kind of fascinating hearing about that.
But while that's happening, now we've got time to do engineering stuff and the creative side. That's what we really enjoy, I think, the most is start with nothing and see what we can build. And the Diamond system is really the culmination of that pandemic effort. We've had the Platinum systems get a little long in the tooth. It's been out a while. And at nearly 42 million pixels per square inch, it was pretty good.
Better than anything else on the market.
But the human eye is somewhere over 150 million pixels per square inch, equivalent of human eye resolution. So, and our product name, iRes, is really a mission statement to get to the resolution of the human eye. And at 42, we were about a little better than a quarter of the way there. This pandemic gave us a chance to bring out a totally new camera that is 137 million pixels per square inch. So about 3 times the Platinum, and right up there about 85% of the human eye. So we're getting close to achieving our mission statement that's in our name, and then I guess we'll have to change names and do something else.
That camera, is that the lens that you showed me?
No, that lens.
That was a different lens?
Different, yeah.
Totally different. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking, that's a pretty impressive lens anyway.
But when you put the big glass optics on for room shots, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's even better when you put it on a slit lamp microscope and look at the eyeball.
Okay, yes. So for those of you who don't know me, I am working with TelScreen now and helping with some of their marketing things, thus the idea for the podcast. My name is Christy, so there you go. But I have not been exposed to some of these images that the doctors see through these microscopes.
So my Bowman gland expression is especially delicious.
And not magically, no trademark infringement.
So yeah, I've told my other marketing friends, I'm like, yeah, I get to look at gross pictures all day, but it's something that you guys absolutely love. Like, it's eye candy for you guys to see all the cool stuff.
Pun intended. That's one of hers. Don't bill me for that
one. There's a count on the over under.
So tell me about like what it does for you guys and the doctors to like see these images, like getting in there. Like, I know how excited you guys get, so just share it with everybody else. What are some cool things that you've seen?
Okay, so since you're known as Wonder Woman here
in the area, yes,
we should probably start with talking about the tick.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Shall we become tinier men?
Okay, lots of references in this
I
podcast.
think that one came from Mississippi or Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Eye
Yeah.
doctor had a.
Well, it looked like a little oil spot in the eye. I mean, when I first saw it, I thought, oh gosh, this is, some foreign body, like a little shard of metal or something.
Or a little
Or
black
a little
dot.
black dot or something like that. And then he popped up the mag from like 16 mag to
Like
20
10.
to 10 to 16.
No,
I thought he did like
10
a
to
10
like
25.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another 15 times magnification. Then you see the legs.
Ew, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the tick head was embedded in the
Yeah.
sclera.
Yeah, the tick was like head down into the white part of the eye, and you just saw like the back legs and the body sticking out.
Oh, gosh.
And so we had to call in the SEAL team for an extraction.
That is too funny. Too funny. Okay, so you tell me about this tick episode. Give me another one.
I'm thinking what I call the cash register shot, where the person blinks and you just see this gold. Oh, asteroid what?
Asteroid hyalosis.
Gotcha.
Asteroid
Hylosis.
hylosis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, there's a lot of floaters in the vitreous. The fluid in the jelly in the back of your eye. And there's a lot of stuff floating in it. And when this person shakes their head, it kind of shakes up like a snow globe. And so you shake your head a little bit, look left, look right, look left, look right, look straight ahead, wide open, and you just see all this stuff streaming through the vitreous.
Oh.
And it looks like a slot machine. I mean, it looks like we're getting ready. I'm like, oh, cherries, come on, cherries. So,
Butterflies, sevens, whatever.
Okay, because I guess a normal person like myself that is not in this, I would just go to the eye doctor, not ever thinking that there's like just stuff roaming around in my fluid behind my eye. Don't think in a normal day that there's fluid behind the eye, and now you're telling me it can function like a snow globe.
Mm-hmm. If you have enough crud in there, basically, calcium, I forget what else it's made of. But our listeners will know.
Yeah, your listeners will know, and they're gonna be like, is she blonde? No, I'm not blonde. I have moments, but I'm not. And I'm sorry, like today, I don't even know that that's appropriate to say, is it? Oh, so sorry. But I will show my age here shortly until Monday, and I go get my hair done. So, see, I'm working on this, Kent.
hey, I stay away from the topic of hair, and if you see a video of Wes and I, you'll understand. So.
Okay, so tell me a couple of stories from conferences, because we have a conference coming up. It's going to be live. You guys get to go. This will be great to actually see people and shake hands again, if that's allowed, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. We've got our vaccine cards, so I think the normal hugs are in order for the people that know us and still like us. And for those who don't like us, well, we'll duck them.
We'll just wave from afar. So, okay, conferences in the past. What have been some...
So typically, we don't just do an exhibit because, well, that's still Pat's influence. If you've got 24 hours in a day, you need to use all of them for everything. So typically, we're setting up an exhibit booth, and we've got our usual, whatever the exhibit hours are. And then we'll be doing 1, 2, 3, or 8 workshops in which we're wheeling in slit lamps, imaging systems, contributing to the educational program side. If you want to learn how to fit a scleral lens, it's great if the instructor can see what you're seeing. If you want to learn how to remove a foreign body, not typically done in workshops, but...
If you want to learn how to put in a punctal plug, if you want to learn how to apply a amniotic membrane, those are really cool. Another topic for another time. And then, of course, the laser, anytime they do laser treatment education. Now, they don't do it on people. They have some model eyes for training so that doctors can learn to fire lasers non-destructively while they're training. But...
I just had a whole cartoon image go through my head. Lasers and eyeballs. Okay.
It's run by Wile E. Coyote. No.
Pew!
The Martian is not present.
So a lot of workshops, educational things. You have and you said you guys do have exhibit.
Sure. Yeah.
While you're at it. Yeah.
Yeah, the exhibit, you can come by and see our prototypical blue pad that you can come stand on the padded concrete floor with us,
Right.
and take a look at our system. We usually put a system on a cart to to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. And to show gross eye videos, of course.
Of course. Of course. Have you ever had any like non-industry, non-doctor person come up and have that same reaction that I've had?
Oh, yeah. The fun ones are when you get kids of a certain age. Like the 6-year-old boys are all over it. I mean, their nose is just about against the screen watching that stuff come out. And
Not surprising.
Yeah. But then you get to like the 11-year-old, 12-year-old, not quite teenagers, but at the age of which they don't mind saying, ew, that is so gross. And Mom, I can't believe you look at that all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of the reactions from the tag-alongs is pretty good. A lot of times we'll have groups of staff. Typically the education is staggered where there are hours in which doctors are doing CE and staff is not, and vice versa. When the staff are out of CE, a lot of times they'll walk, collectively from one office, 3 or 4 of them will walk through. And you'll invariably find at least one of them who knows exactly what's going on and wants to explain it to the other 3. And it's great to listen in on that and really appreciate the great job that a lot of doctors have done training their staff to recognize it, know what it is, and then know how to teach others about it. I see a lot of that in eye care, in which you're really giving a hand up to the next generation. And it's somewhat, I guess, ingrained in eye care because, as doctors, you shadow other doctors until you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And residency training, et cetera. So there's always someone, a mentor that's helping you get to that next level. And it seems like that's been carried on, through staff as well, so that they're all helping each other get to that next level of understanding. What are the patients going through? What do they have? What can we do about it? How do we help them? So it's fun to see that coming through as well. And then of course you get some of the conferences are held in hotels rather than convention centers. A lot of times there'll be a catered, 5 o'clock beer and appetizers type of thing. And some of the hotel staff walking through, they will avoid the aisle. They can't even come down the aisle that has our videos playing.
Well, because to the non-knowing person, it's a little gross.
I could see that.
Yeah, but for those who like maybe horror shows, that would be perfect, right up their alley.
Yeah. And then one of our old show loops, we had a cornea that was stitched together. Think of a patchwork quilt.
Yeah, a little zigzag stitch pattern.
Yeah, little zigzag stitches holding together various pieces of the cornea until it healed up again.
For real? Stitching your eyeball together?
Yes.
Wow.
So there were people who had a fairly strong reaction to that one as well. We took it out of the loop.
Y'all, I'm in marketing for a reason. So not in the medical field. Definitely not. So when you're at conference, okay, you guys have told me a lot of stories, and so as kind of like this final note to wrap us up, you've talked so much with me about all of the relationships that you have with all of these doctors, all these people in the industry. When you go to conference, your community is now there. Like, so how much integrated are you really into this community?
So there's a saying in eye care that on the industry side, that once it's in your blood, you never leave. And you'll see, same face, same name, different name tag perhaps, but no one ever leaves the eye care industry, it seems like. No one ever leaves it alive anyway. People have tried to retire, tried to leave, but keep on coming back.
You're part of the family.
Okay. Again, we got to do video because I'm going to totally overlay The Godfather on that one.
But yes, it is a fairly tight-knit community on, both the doctors and industry. Some good friends that you exhibit next to each other for 20 years in a row, and you get to know each other on a different level when you've got 8 hours on a concrete floor.
Absolutely. Any last words from you?
No, I'm gonna filter that one for you.
Okay.
I got to get under my under quota.
Well, fellas, I appreciate your time today because I am looking forward to what this podcast can become over this next year and see what happens from here. So with that, thank you both Wes and Kent for your time. And for all of you guys that are listening out there, join us again. We hope you learned something new and laughed more than a little on this episode of Show Don't Tell. Let us know how well you enjoyed the show by leaving us a great review, and remember to subscribe to get notified of new episodes. Can't wait for a new episode to learn more about TelScreen? Give the guys a call at 502-515-1806 or visit our website at TelScreen.com. That's TelScreen.com.